Hey everyone, so today we are going to talk about mindset shifts for overcoming anxiety. And the goal of this is to not only decrease anxiety, but also build your confidence around your ability to be able to manage the anxiety during really difficult times. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have Googled everything, read every single kind of self-help book, done tons of research, listened to all the podcasts, watched all the YouTube videos. I know that you're not necessarily new to the game of anxiety and managing anxiety. So many people focus on the fixing part and focused on trying to not just get themselves better, though that's what they believe that they're doing. Goal becomes, I need to fix myself because I'm not okay and I'm broken. Some of that might be true. You may not be okay, and it definitely doesn't feel okay right now, but you're not broken and you don't need to fix yourself. But there are things that you can do to help manage it, to help make it better, to help navigate it. And that's the goal of this video today. And I'm here to tell you guys, I get it. I've been battling anxiety myself for years. Now, anxiety looks different on each person. And so the way we react to anxiety, the way we behave because of our anxiety looks different on each person. Now, I truly believe in order to really decrease anxiety and tackle it, you have to get in there and you have to do the work. And what I mean by that is the hard work on your nervous system to retrain your system to respond to different situations. The reason you feel anxious is because your nervous system, your body is threatened by an environment, by a thought, by a belief, by multiple things that it feels threatened. And so it goes into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, or just completely shut down. I truly believe in order to tackle anxiety, that's the work that has to be done. But I know that takes years of work, and it can. And it's a slow build. That's not where I began. I began with the mindset shifts, and those still carry with me today. I still utilize those when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling really anxious. Even though I'm doing that deep internal work, I still need those mindset mantras and statements, little one-liners to help get me through difficult moments in my day, or difficult is a tool that you will always use, that you will always be able to tap into no matter where you're at. And it's the simplest way to manage the anxiety when it's heightened or when it goes into a panic attack. These things can become very valuable tools in those moments. Okay, the first one might sound kind of cliche especially coming from me as a therapist, but it's acknowledging and validating your emotions. Maybe there's a fear that you are experiencing when I say that, but I can tell you there is tremendous power behind this. So you have to acknowledge and validate your feelings. Otherwise, they just get pushed down or pushed aside and the cycle continues. So you are actually fueling that loop that you want to get out of. So you're reinforcing the anxiety, telling the anxiety that it's okay by fueling it or focusing on the fixing of it. Instead, try to acknowledge it and validate it. Notice that it's there. It wants to be heard. Just like each person wants to be heard, so do your emotions. I have some exercises in some of my other videos in my new freebie, Control Anxiety so it doesn't control you. There's a free audio in there, and it's a grounding technique, 3-2-1, which is used by a lot of therapists. But I find that it can be difficult to do on your own, so I included an audio in there so you can keep it right in your back pocket when you're walking in the park or you're at work or you're at a social event and that anxiety starts kicking in and really taking a hold, you can use this, pop your earbud in, push play on your phone, and within a minute, you will start to feel that anxiety subside. There's no reason to be alone during this because that's what anxiety wants. It wants you to isolate yourself from everyone else and tell you that you're broken. And I'm here to tell you that is not the case. You need support. You need someone by your side or multiple people. You need these tools in your toolbox to be able to acknowledge and validate those feelings. The next one is embracing imperfections and celebrating your progress. You have to be able to celebrate these little milestones. And the way that you can do that is by 3 measurable tools from the medical model, which are intensity, duration, and frequency. So, is it as bad? Is it happening as often? Is it getting better? Right? So you will still experience anxiety. You will still experience these thoughts, overthinking, overanalyzing, but is it improving? Is it getting better? If you're focused on the fixing, right, and only one way, then you're not actually measuring your progress, and you will not be able to see if you are making progress. Because if you're still focused on well, it's not better, then you're not seeing what is getting better, what areas of improvement you have been making. So use those 3 things as a guideline when you get into that headspace of, I'm not doing good enough, this isn't getting better, I'm never going to be better, I might as well just quit. Whatever those thoughts are, I'm sure that you can all relate to those. Use the intensity, duration, and frequency. We are not robots. We are not meant to be perfect. And I know you probably hear that all the time. But when you're focused on the fixing, that's essentially what that is. You are focusing on perfecting yourself and working against yourself because you aren't focusing on okay, what is going right? What is going better? And so whether it's a task or just pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, those little victories deserve to be celebrated. Okay, so the next one is challenging your negative thoughts. Now, this isn't something that you're going to do when you're in the downward spiral. This is some work that you have to do before, when you're not in the midst of anxiety or panic. So the best way to do this is to just start asking yourself some basic questions like, is this hurtful? Is this helpful? And when you start having those thoughts and you feel that spiral sucking you in, stop and ask, is this hurtful? Is this helpful? The other way to do it, and this is the groundwork, is create a chart of the thoughts that you have on one side, and then on the other side, a thought that's the opposite. So the way I like to think about it is, what would you tell a friend? So that's the best way to reframe your thoughts. Now, again, this isn't something that you're going to do in the middle of a panic attack. You're not going to say, reframe my thought, because we just aren't conditioned and we don't operate that way. So you have to do this prior, because then you learn it's integrating into your body, into your mind, so you can do it in times of heightened anxiety and panic. And then there's 9 words that can be really helpful. What evidence do I have to support this belief? So if you find yourself in that spiral and you're thinking, I'm never going to get the promotion because Karen's interview was so much better, she has more experience, she's definitely going to get the position. If you're telling yourself, I'm a terrible mom, I yelled at my kids today, I feel so ashamed, my husband and I got into another fight, I just don't think this is going to work, he doesn't love me anymore. Have one thought and it continues to lead into another, into this downward spiral. Then you're not looking at the evidence that supports that. So again, what evidence do I have to support this belief? Anxiety is fueled by negative thoughts. That's literally what it wants. So when you are in this downward spiral, you are handing anxiety, you are fueling the anxiety. That's what it wants. It wants this platter of food to eat, to keep it alive, to keep it going. And the thoughts that you have, the beliefs that you have about yourself, the stories that you tell yourself are the things that are fueling it. And one way that you can challenge this is to crack open your journal and just start free writing. Or I have a new guided journal, From Anxiety to Unshakable Confidence, and it's a guided journal with prompts in it if you're not really sure where to go, or if you struggle with free writing. That could be a really good resource to help you get on that deeper level. But also at the end of it, there is a chart that helps you to reframe those negative thoughts that you're having. And so those are the mindset shifts that you want to use during difficult times. So that's why you have to do it before you are in the midst of anxiety and panic. So you can pull one of those out and lean into it during a difficult time. Okay, the next one is cultivating self-compassion. Now, I know we talk a lot about self-love and love yourself, and that's all fine and great, but you're not just going to like convince yourself to feel that way. These are the building blocks that will get you there. And I don't necessarily know if I believe in this self-love concept, but learning to be okay with yourself. I think that's really what we all want, to just learn how to be okay with ourselves, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And so cultivating self-compassion is a way to do that. Noticing when you're being really down on yourself, when those thoughts start to spiral, showing yourself some damn compassion. What would you say to a friend if they were saying these things to yourself? How would you show them love and support? That's what you need to show yourself. And sometimes I have to get really aggressive with my anxiety and my thoughts and just say, like, stop. I don't have time for this today. Knock it off, right? And then other days it's, okay, that's not true, or I'm just not going to go there today. Or I have little mantras that I tell myself, like, that's not true. Is this hurtful or helpful? And some of the ways that I've learned to speak to myself during those difficult times. And sometimes it's very simple. I go back to my roots of being in recovery, which is one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Can I get through this next few minutes? Can I get through this next hour? What can I do to distract myself right now? So these are I use little check-in questions when I find myself spiraling. If I can get into a moment of pause, then I give myself that opportunity to break out of the cycle. So you have to be able to pay attention and be in tune and aware of the anxiety. If you're focused again on the fixing and you're on your phone and you're Googling ways to manage anxiety and how do I stop anxiety and whatever else you're researching, you're really just, again, handing the anxiety that platter of food. It's fueling it by doing that. You're not actually getting out of it. So by getting out of it, you can check in with yourself. You can show yourself some compassion. And sometimes that's just, I have to get through this day. It's going to be okay. Even if there's stuff blowing up in your life, different life circumstances, or it's just thoughts that you're having about yourself. You got a new fight with your partner, you're going through a divorce, school is really challenging, or you're failing in school, you didn't get the promotion you wanted at work, whatever it is. Yes, life happens and life is going on still, but can you show yourself compassion during these difficult times? And that means respecting your boundaries, respecting your limitations, and not pushing past those, because when you do, now you're creating that feedback loop again of anxiety. It's fueling it. Okay, so the last one is asking yourself, Am I controlling or am I trusting? Because a lot of times I find when I'm feeling anxious or very restless, like I want to crawl out of my skin, it's because I am trying to control an outcome that I have no business controlling. And I'm not trusting the process. I'm not trusting in myself. I'm not trusting in my ability that I can handle this. And I naturally go into all these narratives and stories about why I should be making a decision or why I should be doing something, or if I do this, then this is going to happen. Like I try to predict all these outcomes. That always gets me into anxiety. It doesn't get me into that peace and that flow that I'm looking for. So I can give you an example. When I was trying to make a decision about sending my kid back to school or homeschooling. Now, for some people, this isn't that big of a deal. Some people choose to homeschool and that's their decision. Other people send their kids to school, that's their decision. But for me, it was very overwhelming. And for weeks, I felt anxious because I had all these narratives in my head from all the things I was seeing on social media, the reasons why you should homeschool and why public school is bad. And then I had all my own values and beliefs in there of why I wanted to homeschool. And then also why I needed a break. And so I was wavering between the two, and the pressure was also on because I was under a time crunch. So that will also magnify anxiety. So I was consumed by this every single day. And when I realized that I was controlling the outcome, okay, if I choose this, this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. But at the end of the day, I don't really know what's going to happen, right? I can make that story up in my mind, but by assuming that or trying to predict these outcomes, I was fueling my anxiety. I wasn't trusting the process. I wasn't trusting my decision or my intuition, or just trusting, okay, make a decision and see how it goes. I was trying to take back that control, which was fueling my anxiety. So it was self-induced anxiety. And when I started to notice that I was actually causing myself anxiety and that I was playing the most significant role in it, whoa, that was a game changer, right? Noticing that it's not just anxiety. A lot of it is self-induced. And we create these stories, these beliefs, these narratives in our head and try to predict all these outcomes of what might happen or create these fears of what might happen. And at the end of the day, a lot of that is probably not going to happen. And if it does happen, we have to deal with it anyway. And so when you look at it, you can take a step back and look at it that way. It is a complete game changer. And so I hope that you can utilize some of these mindset shifts to overcome times when things are feeling really heavy, really bogged down, feeling that restlessness, or like you want to just crawl out of your own skin, or you feel paralyzed by your anxiety. These are some things that you can do to move from anxiety to a more confident place. And I know that it can feel overwhelming to get from here to here, but it is possible, right? And it's possible by doing the work, when you're not in it, and doing the work when you are in it. And when you are in it, the best thing that you can do is keep it simple. Go back to the basics, right? Just have those little mantras in your head that you can refer to when things are really intense. Because it's not about thriving during those times. It's about just kind of keeping your head above water. It's going to take time to get there. And these are little subtle shifts that are creating bigger wins. So if you can look at it that way, I guarantee you things are going to change in your world. Thank you guys so much for listening today. And don't forget to hit subscribe and follow to hear more of these videos on building confidence and trusting yourself.